OAuth tools is great for testing different OAuth and OpenID Connect flows. By default, there's a Curity playground available that can be used to test some of the different flows. In this recording, we're going to take a look at how to configure OAuth tools to use an instance of the Curity identity server that is configured to use a configuration we want instead of the default playground environment. To start with, we'll click the plus here for new workspace and give it a name, Curity demo. Here I'm going to use WebFinger since I have that configured on my Curity identity server side, and I'll enter in the URL of my Curity server here. Click discover. This will now resolve the issuer, the metadata URL, as well as all the additional endpoints that we need. And as obvious by the URL here, I'm using ngrok as a reverse proxy to expose my Curity server. We have a script available to handle the configuration here that can be found under About. And then we scroll down. There's a link here, expose Curity identity server locally using ngrok. The script handles a couple of things when Curity is installed locally. It sets the base URL of Curity to the exposed ngrok URL, as well as enabling WebFinger and disabling HTTPS, since SSL will be terminated by ngrok instead of the Curity server directly. We head back to OAuth tools. In order to test the flow here, we actually need to configure a client. So by right-clicking our environment settings, then the clients tab, we can add a new client here that needs to align with a client we have on the server side. And we can select what capabilities this client have. With that set, clicking Start Flow here, we can choose what flow we want to run. I'm going to choose Code Flow. Based on this, our client shows up on the drop-down list here. We can add scopes to the request. Clicking Run will initiate the flow. And here we're presented with the authenticator configured for the client. And this is the HTML form authenticator. In my instance here, I don't have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and register an account directly within the authenticator here. When the account is created, you can return to login and enter the username and password. And here, after successful authentication, we received the authorization code. And we can flip this switch here to auto-redeem the code in the future, and then click Redeem Code here, which will then give us an access token, a refresh token, as well as an ID token because we requested the OpenID scope. And with this, we've validated that we have a working Curity server that's correctly configured for the code flow, and we can perform user authentication using OAuth tools.